Well, welcome to Nuremberg. Well, at least my hotel room. I'm up early for a flight back home, so I thought this might be a good place to gather my thoughts and record a video, particularly the bustling nightlife out in Nuremberg. This is a bit quieter, but anyway, what an incredible day. It really was a privilege to go to Adidas headquarters, see the team briefly train. Let's just say we saw the warm ups, and very, very quickly we were moved on once those were finished and the balls came out. And Eddie Howe himself alluded to this. He doesn't like people seeing him work. Warm up's okay because he doesn't handle it. I thought that was quite amusing. And, we went on to speak to Eddie Howe, of course. I'll come back to that. That's what we're here for. Also, Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, and Lloyd Kelly. We also got a really, really cool glimpse behind the scenes at Adidas, no more so than the archives. Incredible to see some of the collection they have there. Over 40,000 items, I believe. Quite a few Newcastle ones too, from various players and the team over the years. Some kits that never saw the light of day. That's to come in another video. I know everyone really from this days is talking about one thing, and that's been Eddie Howe and his future. Went into this knowing, as I said before, he was going to face a bombardment about the England position. His mergers really run the front runners for that position, a position he's previously spoke about being the ultimate job in football. It was many years he spoke about it, but we know he's very patriotic. We know he's a proud Englishman. And we know what an attractive position that is right now. England, imagine having the chance to take over that group of players. World Cup to come, UK and Ireland Euros to follow. It's a good package. And I mean, the FA, even in their job advert, have made it clear they want someone who's actually going to win them a major trophy. And that's kind of not the expectation, but the real feel around it now that England can go that step. Obviously, so close in previous tournaments, but couldn't get over the line. And the man who does that will be a hero forevermore. But Eddie Howe really set his stall out early in this press conference. Basically, I'll explain how it worked. So he spoke to the written journalists first. There's about maybe 10, 11 of us. Then he went out to face the camera. So he did an interview with BBC Newcastle, at Sky Sports, and with the own club media as well. He did those afterwards. So you probably all have seen those clips, and they're very positive. From what I could see, there was maybe a slightly different message in the written section, which I know some people feel maybe has been misinterpreted. Having been in the room, maybe I can hopefully give a little bit of an insight into what it was like. But basically, as I was saying, the first question was about England. Quite a few questions early on were about England, but the England job actually became secondary in this. This became a wider discussion about Eddie Howe's position at Newcastle United. And he wanted it to be that way. He wanted to talk about it. This England job is something that he's obviously been repeatedly linked with, but he quickly reaffirmed his commitment to Newcastle United within the first question, really, how much he loves the club, how much he enjoys it, how he's committed, how he's focused on what's to come. As long as he's happy, as long as he feels supported. And that became the running theme throughout, support, backing, what he needs to feel like he can, I suppose, can do the job to the best of his ability. And the context of this really is it's been a summer of massive change, really, for Newcastle United at all levels. We look at the boardroom. Amanda Staveley and Merida Gadusia stepped down, sold their shares. New sporting directors coming in Paul Mitchell, a new performance directors coming in James Bunce. Neither of those figures have worked with Eddie Howe before, but have to strike up a relationship, have to strike up a bond for the club to move forward. Even on a lesser extent, there's a slightly different look to the dressing room now, with Matt Ritchie going, with Paul Dummett going. I know they don't seem headline departures, but these were key figures for Eddie Howe around the dressing room. And he also lost a key player in a key future player potentially in Elliot Anderson, who he didn't want to lose. Yankuba Minta was someone as well they had to sell. So talented young players. He reiterated he didn't want to lose them, but the PSR concerns were just the tip of the iceberg of what he called, quote unquote, a difficult summer. So I think he's felt maybe drained from this summer. I think it's not been easy for him. I think he's spoken how when he was on holiday over in North America, over in Greece, he was working every day. He's been so focused on Newcastle, and I suppose, you know, quickly bouncing back from last season. Obviously, the last time he spoke to the press, we didn't even know if Newcastle were going to be in Europe. They're waiting on the result of the FA Cup final, and that was a blow really to miss out on Europe. And Newcastle's so keen to get back to those sorts of levels again. But on the field, as much as those preparations have started, you know, they've had amazing facilities at Adidas, double sessions. The players have really enjoyed it as much as it's been very, very productive. I think a tight-knit group is come close together. New signs like Kelly, John Ruddy, they seem to have really gelled, and these kind of trips are important for that. But all the while you have this this change off the field. Eddie Howe call it a different feeling. It's a new team off the field coming together, and I know not much has changed in some ways. You still have Darren Eales there. You still have Jamie Rubin there, of course, an incredibly important figure. At boardroom level, at the ownership structure, the PIF are still very ambitious, but there's a new sporting director coming in, new performance director, and Eddie Howe's having to adjust to that. And I think kind of establishing those power lines, you know, Eddie Howe said, you know, the days of kind of a manager just doing everything, they don't happen anymore. But I think when Darren Eales said, you know, Paul Mitchell and James Bunce-Sprawley, so he can do what he does best, and that's on the grass and proven players. That's a very fair point. We know how many players have hit new heights. Imagine if Eddie Howe can channel his energy even more into that. But also, he's worked very hard, I guess, to get to this position. He's had a power base established there. You look at his fingerprints are there in so many different departments in the club: recruitment, medical, coaching, obviously, sports science. That if someone comes in, it's a case of feeling each other out. And I think some people may find that a bit strange. You have to remember how tight Eddie Howe's inner circle is, how trust, how previous experience is so important to him. So I go back to before he got the Newcastle job, he obviously came very, very close to getting the Celtic job. The reason he didn't take it ultimately was he couldn't get all his staff up there. And if you ever wanted an example of just how important staff are to him, how close-knit they are, that is it. You know, Celtic would have been a huge job for Eddie Howe at the time. And ultimately he didn't take it as a result of staff. So when two, you know, outsiders come in who he's never worked with before, it is a big deal for him, because you look at the transfer window, Newcastle have to improve. Eddie Howe will have targets in mind. He's been having meetings with Paul Mitchell. It's about quickly gelling and being able to work collaboratively. That was the word he stressed. And I think it's important to note as well, he was very, very, very keen to say this wasn't a criticism of the guys who come in. He spoke well about James Bunce. He said Paul Mitchell was excellent, strong, dynamic, you know, a sporting director with a real track record. And that's what Newcastle United needed. I think it's just going to be figuring out those little pinch points. And for me, I left that press conference not thinking that Eddie Howe wouldn't be manager at the start of the season. I think there are just issues to iron out. And if they do iron them out, this could still be a really, really interesting season. But it felt for me a different sort of media briefing than we were expecting from him. Very little talk, as I said, directly about England. It was about Newcastle. He was underlining his commitment, saying he really wants to win that trophy, but also saying he needs to feel supported. And that was the big takeaway. And with a few weeks left of the window, I think if they get players in, things could settle down again. They can attack the season. I think that's what everyone wants, and there's certainly alignment on that. Hello and welcome to Adidas headquarters, where we are here to get a real look around, a look inside, and to see how Newcastle United's training camp is going. We're due to speak to Eddie Howe later today. We're also due to have a chat with Ciaran Kelly and Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento. So lots to come from that. We'll also get a look at training the first 15 minutes to see the warm-ups at the very least, and most excitingly we're going to look in the archives at Adidas to see what it's all about. Pretty strict on filming, so apologies you don't get more of a look around. It's quite a pretty mundane backdrop considering what we've seen on the way in, but just to give you a flavour, I mean it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Kind of meets James Bond villain hideaway versus Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It's as I said, nothing like I've seen. People playing volleyball in their spare time, people cycling around the campus. It's so vast. We really are in the middle of nowhere. It's like its own little city. I'd kind of liken it to an airport a bit, just how it's all got little different compartments. And yeah, we'll go on to the football now, so let's see how we get on.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
We have the archive.
Oh. But this doesn't matter.
Well,
You wouldn't want to get caught with that, would you?
No, it hurts. It hurts. It's already hurting when you hold it like this.
Sure. Are they yours?
Yeah, they are.
Wow. See these?
Yeah, I cut something else.
It's just, yeah, it's very impressive. Are these the old?
Cup. Although Germany did not even have a national team when they were allowed to compete in the World Cup, and we had to face Hungary, the best team of that time, in the final. We faced them in the group stage and we lost 8-3. We somehow made it to that final, but the good thing was it was raining the day before, and on the day after, and on the day of the final, and the Hungarians had to wear a boot like this. One of the oldest tracksuits we do have, from Specklebauer tracksuit from 1967. First time we started tracksuit. Adidas and whatever. There's something iconic missing in that tracksuit. Oh, shoe boxes. Which is hard to collect. This is the smallest collection we have. That's an old one from 1956. You can remember it all. Number 2. Adidas with the blue sweat. It's also shoe in the middle. And I looked beside us and this
Pretty much some of the best boots you've touched.
I've never seen these before.
2006 Predator Absolute.
You've still got the
No, I need to check. I think it was and that's of course we have a white, oh yeah, we do have it, yes. But you can hold the box.
Yeah.
Just for a second.
I remember. I'd probably say 94. Maybe I can argue that I remember it being 92, but I can't really. Yeah, potentially 90. Do you know? But like I can't remember the actual anything about it. I just remember the tournament being on. The first goal of the World Cup goal I remember being scored was Red.
And back in the days, they were used as autograph cards, or in the cars. Everybody had them.
Yeah.
You see that they had to form like the real lasts and everything for those little shoes. And in the 2010s, we did a mini museums collection for that you can buy a big shoe and have a little one as well.